Welcome back to another soul-driven discussion interview. I think Sarah and I were calling it picking up stuff. So welcome back. Thank you so much for being with us today. I have Sara Elise, evolutionary astrologer and spiritual coach, back on the podcast. For those who have been listening to Soul Driven for quite a while, you're very familiar with Sara and her incredible work. And of course, always just so honored to have her back to come and nerd out with us about astrology. So my big intention for this particular episode was to really think about, providing support for this ending part of the year. From the things that I have seen within the Akashic records and just kind of my overall feeling and perception feeling into the last quarter of 2022, I've been feeling like there's a lot coming for us. And I feel like we've kind of been working up to a bit of a crescendo kind of this whole year. And so I really wanted to welcome in Sara and her wisdom and talk with you about what's kind of going on astrologically, some of the big themes, get her feelings and opinions on things, just in an effort, again, to be fully supportive for you. And I just want to remind you that in the midst of, astrology, forecasting of any type, the way that I really love to come to it is from a place of empowerment. When we talk about things that might be potentially triggering or heavy, what's great is to understand that it is what it is, but we can decide ahead of time in regards to how we're going to meet it, how we're going to show up, how we're going to manage ourselves in the midst of it. And that's how we can keep our power in the midst of these changing times, which can be a lot. And so I just want to welcome you into that space as we step into talking about today and the rest of 2022. So first, Miss Sara, thank you so much for coming back. It's wonderful to see you again and just to have you back.
Thanks, Anna. It's nice to be back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we have, what is it? Double Gemini here, double Sag energy. So a lot of chatty Cathy
We have
going on.
sun opposition. My sun is opposite your sun. We are a Gemini and a Sag. Your Uranus sits on my North Node, all kinds of lovely congruence. So yeah, it's lovely to be back with you again. I have to say this is a difficult topic. It's not simple. I don't normally prepare for a conversation, but I have like reams of notes and have done so much thinking about it because I don't think this is quite as simple as Mars going retrograde, right? Like that is just like kind of just like the end of the line of just a lot of stuff that's been going on. And when I tuned into it in my own meditation practice, I think that what I really see as an enormous trend this year, the path this year, what's been happening this year, and I'm just going to kind of stake a claim here and say I am going to share this from the authentic way that I'm experiencing it, which might be language that doesn't make a lot of sense to many people, but I don't know how else to describe it. Because what's literally been happening this year, as far as I'm concerned, is we've been learning how to bring our higher self into our body. We've been really learning how to merge this planet, this planetary form, this reality with something a lot more subtle and a lot more refined. We've been like sort of bringing in an energetic frequency that is unique to us, that is new, and that is more authentic to what we are. And we've been breaking old patterns and kind of really going through a lot of death and a lot of like sort of very traumatic emotions. It's been feeling very unstable. And so there are ways of perceiving that at all levels of the experience, right? At certain levels of the experience, it's devastating. At certain levels of that experience, it could not be any worse. It is literally like a living nightmare. And at some levels of that experience, it is amazing and miraculous. So I appreciated what you said in the intro, right? That there is a lot of stuff breaking, and there is a lot of stuff dying, and there are a lot of changes. And no matter where we are at in our ability to perceive that on an energetic frequency level, right? It doesn't matter. We kind of need to come into our into a sense of faith. I think that the invitation this year has been into us, right? Intimacy with ourself, trust in ourself, faith in ourself, and not in ourself in some kind of ego way, but in our authentic self, in the part of us that is beyond the self we've known, beyond the identity we had, prior to 2020, prior to 2021, like the old self that we were before everything started to crumble around our ankles. And I feel like this has been one of the most difficult years I have ever witnessed, but the difficulty has been at this like emotional inner level. Like it's been almost like a soul wrestling. Like we've had to face into the with the nodal axis of this year, right? The south node in Scorpio and the north node of Taurus, which is intrinsically bound to this Mars retrograde. Like you can't separate what's happening on a nodal in the collective, right? In terms of our collective evolution, you can't separate that, and I'll explain why. But I feel like the nodal shift that happened at the end of December in 2021 really set this year's theme, and that is one of kind of really going inside into the place where we have fear, or going into the place where we want control, or going into the place where we feel like we have to protect ourselves, or that we're in danger, or that we that someone's going to betray us, or into the place that wants more than it needs. That's a big one. Into the place where we're wrestling with our own darkness, right? And that we've been sort of thrust in upon this real soul wrestling ego place, right? And that might have happened inside, and it's definitely happening outside, right? As we witness like abuse of power, and we witness violence, and we witness death, and we witness like just weird dark things kind of happening in the collective. But essentially what it is metaphorically is that, like a south node of Scorpio is that place where we're going from emotional instability, chaos, danger, trauma, and we're moving toward Taurus, which is stability, patience, peace, austerity, right? Taurus is not too much. Scorpio is too much. Taurus is enough. We're learning about, energetic budgeting, right? Coming into the simple, coming into the form. And then so that's on a very basic level, right? Moving from chaos, fear, danger, and trauma into, no, I know what I need to survive. I'm okay. I can do this. I can take care of myself. I know I might have had that before, but this is what I have now, and I'm okay with that, right? Like I can do what I can do with what I have, and I'm gonna be okay, right? Like there's like this, it's almost like we're all being kind of taught to be okay with just a little bit less, but that less is so much more authentic and so much more personal, right? And there's like this feeling of coming into ourself and learning how to have faith that that's okay, that we can trust it, that we can trust this body that we're in, that the emotions aren't going to kill us. They're not dangerous, right? That we can stabilize, and we can ground, and we can hold ourselves as we are, and be okay with ourselves as we are. And there's like this like sort of radical kind of self peace, or this feeling of calm that wants to sort of, that's beckoning us forward. And right off the bat of the year, we had this crazy Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, and that lit the theme of that sort of opened up this spiritual gate, I think, in the collective. And not to be too woo-woo about it, I really believe that there was a change or a shift in the consciousness, in our ability to understand life, in our ability to have compassion for each other, in our belief system about what is possible, right? Belief, Jupiter, and Neptune, what is possible, what is beyond. I've watched, I work with people all over the planet, and I've watched people waking up like crazy. I mean, it's just off the charts. The conversations that I can have with people now, and they understand what I'm saying versus, I might not have been able to say that before. They wouldn't have known, or they wouldn't have. Now it's like they're recognizing it. They're like, yes, and they want more of that, right? There's like this potentiality that's been opened up where we're seeing beyond the myopia of our own old, like of our reality, or the reality that we were so-called conditioned to be in. And reality is breaking up all over the place. Like we can't trust the government. We can't trust the power structures. We can't trust the food system. We can't trust the medical system. Like everything is broken. And where do you go to find a feeling of safety? There's only one place, and that's inside you, man. Like there's just like the inside your body, like right into me, I see, right? The universe is within, and finding that, connection, yet at the same time having this expanded vision of being able to understand that we're all one here, that this is a unified field, that there's something more going on than we can see, right? Like having this permission to all of a sudden conceptualize or feel, because it had happened in Pisces, the Jupiter Neptune conjunction. So all of a sudden our feelings were like, oh my goodness, like as soon as that conjunction happened, the war in Ukraine was announced, and the feelings of compassion and the witnessing of this horror. Like this is very Piscean, right? Pisces is not all love and light. Pisces is the whole thing. Pisces is being able to see that we are all living one life, that there is one self, that there is one being, that there is one love, and that we have to treat ourselves as we treat others. That is the only way we can make this place livable for ourselves, right? That the self and the other are the same. So that there's this sort of unified consciousness kind of came in. And then this summer, then we went into eclipse season, right? In May, we went into eclipse season. So I think the eclipses happened, like the first one was in April, on April 30th. And that was conjunct Uranus in Taurus. This is very important. The second one was the full moon eclipse on May 16th. That was square Saturn. And that kind of loops in this other theme into the collective dream, which is the square between Uranus and Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius that's been happening for all of 2021 and 2022. And that's going to be a major player in the next 4 months, because they're coming back together again for the very last time while Mars is going insane. So I want to just talk about that for a second, because I feel like Uranus in Taurus is a really important part of the picture that I want to talk about today. And Uranus is higher energy. Uranus is higher self. It has been in Taurus for quite a few years, but this year it came conjunct the North Node. And when it did that at the end of July and the beginning of August. There were about 3 weeks where it approached, and then it sat on the North Node, and then it very gradually went off. Okay, so there was just this realignment that happened. And I believe what happened in the collective at that time is we were all given this permission to connect up to our higher self, and to literally bring that down into the body in a really clear and concise way, if that makes sense. Like there was this alignment in the collective that happened, which gave us permission to accept that there is a part of us that is beyond the myopia of the reality that we see every day. There is a part of us that exists outside of this obvious place that we call home, right? That there's a part of us that is invisible, yet also can be present here and can bear witness to this life and can be in charge here, right? Which is our higher self. And it can come into the form and actually be alive on the planet. Like we can literally live according to our own divine blueprint, according to our own integrity, and according to our own like truth, right? Our own uniqueness. So it was like an individuation impulse that kind of like blossomed through us, through the collective during the summer months. And again, this is going to feel very uncomfortable for people who are not like, who are really attached to the way things are or the way things should be, because Uranian energy, when it comes in, it's like lightning, or it's like it's electromagnetic frequency, right? It happens at such a subtle level, and it comes in and it breaks up whatever is not in its vibration. It just blitzes it. It's like getting hit by lightning or something. It's like you short circuit. So there's like this it doesn't feel safe, right? It doesn't feel normal, or it doesn't feel quite right. So there's been a lot of like, oh my God, like I don't want that anymore. No, that's not for me anymore. That's not what I need. What are my values now? What do I need? What is going to bring me a feeling of safety? Like how do, like, right? Like just a reevaluation of everything that we believe in, everything that matters to us, everything that we hold dear, everything that we attach to, like a lack of ability to attach to the old beliefs, a lack of ability to attach to the old habits, a desire to break free of things that were binding us or holding us back. And then all of a sudden the ability to do so, right? You were saying to me earlier, like, I've always wanted to move, but I just couldn't do it, you know, like just that sort of thing. Like I had a friend at that time who quit smoking marijuana, which had been like a massive addiction. He smoked marijuana every single day for I don't know how many years, so many times a day, like, and he just quit it. Like it was just like that. I like my ex-husband, he just quit smoking. Like he just literally just quit it. Like it was just like breaking the hold that our old self has on our new self and stepping into ourself in this really interesting, different kind of a way. Okay. And that has just happened. Like we've just literally come through that. So we're all sort of in this adjustment period, like not quite knowing what the hell's going on, which I think really feeds into this Mars cycle and what it's here for. Like we're about, Mars has been in Gemini already since I think it was like August, I don't know, 18th. I wrote some of these dates down. I'm not sure how much they really matter, but Mars entered Gemini on August 21st. Okay. And Mars, let's just break out. First of all, before I start talking about Mars and Gemini, why don't like, can we just kind of like cap that sort of overview off and like summarize it a little bit? Would that be okay, so that people really understand what I'm talking about? Because I can be a little difficult to understand sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that, you know, a lot of the things that you were sharing not only have personally resonated so much in regards to what I've been experiencing this year, but certainly what I've been seeing with clients and
Okay.
also what I've been seeing with the collective, and absolutely people waking up. I loved the sort of like yearly theme of like bringing the higher self into our body. You know, some of the things that you mentioned, like soul wrestling and energetic budgeting and coming into the simple. And I feel like so much of the work that we have been doing this year has been like wrestling us out of the muck, kind of what you said, of just all the weight that we've been carrying, and also the shedding of what we've just gone through the past couple of years, because of course,
Yeah.
2020, you know, and COVID, and man, that was like a
We were all kind of
flying
just
down
like
the highway.
deer in the headlights, right?
Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you know, like slamming on our brakes. And not even knowing how to handle it, not even knowing what to do, all trying to kind of get back to normal, back to normal, back to normal, yet realizing like we're in a completely new world now. The old stuff just doesn't resonate anymore. The old ways in which we could numb out and satiate ourselves don't do it anymore. They don't work for us. You know, the old people, the old things that, and like you said, I mean, like, especially where we're at now is in this weird liminal place in between just kind of being broken open. And that's very much where I felt like having you come in and just kind of, you know, really help kind of lay the groundwork and understanding for what it is that that we're stepping into. Because I think a lot of, at least in my own, with my work, amongst my clients and my communities, people are really flipping out, that instability, that fear that like, oh my gosh, this is going to last forever. And I'm there, like, I have totally been there on some days too. Obviously I'm getting ready to move, so like, how could I not? But like, it's so like what it's doing to our nervous system. Like, I've been doing breath work, like, whoa, like just trying to get back in my body, because my spirit wants nothing to do with it. It's
I know,
like
this has literally been the year of everyone wanting to commit suicide. Like, honestly, like this has just been the year, like no one wants to do this anymore. The pain is so big. It's just too much, right? That's
all the feelings, all the emotions,
it's all
just
the
like
feelings.
you said,
Totally.
It's like, wait a minute.
But
I've always been an emotional person, but
this is what we have to fight against. Like, this is what we can't give into that feeling. Like, this is not, it's fun to joke about it, but the reality is that we need to be here. Like, this is where we've chosen
100%. Yeah.
We need to
100%.
burn through that shit, and we need to come into the body, and we need to come into that sense of stability and groundedness. That's the job. And like the eclipse season that's on the corner, like right on the horizon, is going to be it's going to be like the first eclipse season kicked it off. This eclipse season should, I assume, and I don't know because we haven't walked through it yet, should help us anchor in the changes, and it should turn the tide. Okay, I can already kind of feel the tide turning a little bit for myself. I'm not sure about you.
Just a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think what was I just going to,
sorry,
we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Your flow.
This is you and I when we get together. I'm like, so much to say. But no, I am completely with you. I am completely with you. And I think that, spiritual practice, I mean, that's something that, of course, I have been sharing a lot about in my newsletters and talking. And this is the time, I mean, the Akashic records have for a year, like every year or every month with the forecast, they get louder and louder about like coming within, learning to be in that foundation while everything else is shaking. This is where you can stand. This is where you can find safety. This is where you'll find peace. And you can enjoy life in the midst of this if you can connect inward. You know, this is where all of the bounty is.
Exactly.
And
this is where the abundance lies.
Absolutely. 100%. So I love all of those reminders, you know, coming into a sense of faith and trust with ourselves, like wrestling with our own darkness. But yeah, it's all, you know, I say this so many times on this podcast, but it's like, we all have that wisdom within us. We all have that capability to take care of ourselves fully and completely. Which is why I've been doing a lot of breath work, trying, reconnecting with self.
Good.
Okay, so that was kind of like your overview intro. And so now where we're starting at, because basically what you did is also give us like an overview of just a general overview of like the lay of the land in regards to the astrology, some major points that are bringing us up to current, correct? And like now we're going to kind of dive in with current moving forward. Yes.
I think now we can kind of talk about what the context is for that Mars and Gemini, even, right? Because what's its purpose? Like, what is it going to bring to us? And
well,
Mars
and maybe just to kind of start, I guess, like so Mars in Gemini. Maybe just share a little bit about why this is unique
So
for folks who aren't
Mars,
aware.
first of all, it's not particularly unique. I mean, Mars goes retrograde every 2 years, and Mars goes into Gemini. Like it's not that unique. Like it's right. And every couple of years, Mars goes through one sign and stays there for a really long time. That's also not unique. I mean, most of the time, Mars just like blasts through archetypes and like moves very, very fast. And then every couple of years, like clockwork, the planet will go, because of the orbit and wherever it is, it sort of stays in one archetype for more of a prolonged period and
Right.
goes back and forth. So it goes retrograde and then it moves forward. And that is a normal way that it behaves, right? Every time a planet goes retrograde, it's kind of a catch-up opportunity. It's an opportunity to reflect on where we've been, like, and to make reparation and to make changes by looking at where we've come and rearranging things. So it's kind of like cleaning up your trash, you know what I mean? Or like cleaning your closet. Like you could be in your room, like this is my room essentially. Like I will basically be so busy during the week that by the end of the week, my room is like an explosion of like my clothes and my stuff is all over the place. And then, once a week I go retrograde and I clean everything and I organize everything. And because I have to stop in order to do that, right? Like I have to stop my personal momentum, which is like, I'm like always moving so fast. So I have to literally slow myself down, stop, and then take responsibility for my mess. That's what a retrograde is. That's all that it is, right? And yet this one is different because Mars is also going out of bounds during the retrograde, and it's going to be out of bounds for like some extraordinarily long time. So it is already in Gemini. It goes retrograde on October 30th. And it stays there and leaves Gemini like way into like the end of March. But it is going to be out of bounds for almost that entire time. And like when I look at the ephemeris, it goes out of bounds. Out of bounds. Okay, let me explain what out of bounds is. Basically, all of the planets stay within a certain kind of orbital range relative to the ecliptic. And every once in a while, it will go out of range. And that doesn't happen often, but it happens maybe like once a year, or maybe once every couple of years. Different planets go out of bounds more often. The moon goes out of bounds. And when the planet goes out of bounds in its orbit, it's gone beyond the norm. Let's say it's gone outside of what we consider on planet Earth normal. Like we are all evolving. Let's think of our human selves as part of a species. We're part of a species. We have a collective consciousness, a human species consciousness. This consciousness has certain bounds within which it works, right? Bounds of consciousness. This is considered normal. And we evolve within these confines. It's almost like they're patterns that define us. When a planet goes beyond them, it's bringing in information that we don't have yet. That's different than what we know, right? It's reorganizing the bounds. It's allowing us to access something that is not in our ordinary understanding of what is real. Okay, so if you have out of bounds planets in your birth chart, for instance, you tend to be someone who they will behave in ways that some people might think it's really crazy, but for you, you're like, well, this is normal because I just go outside the bounds of what you consider to be normal. And it's quite fine for me, right? Like, but the normative structure doesn't necessarily recognize it. Okay. So Mars going out of bounds for months. It's going out of bounds for months. Like it's going out of bounds so much, I'm kind of like shocked. It goes out of bounds on, like, I think it's the 23rd of October or something, or the 24th of October, or the 20, somewhere in there. And it stays out of bounds for all of November, all of December, all of January, all of February. Oh my God, it goes out of bounds so much in February and March. Like, it's insane. All of April. And it comes back into normal range in May. That's like just almost like, how long is that? Like the end of October all the way to somewhere in the beginning of May. You count
What is that, like 7 months,
Sagittarius.
8 months?
So, you know, it will be in Gemini for some of that time, but it leaves Gemini on like the 25th of March, like, and then it enters Cancer. It'll be out of bounds in Cancer for quite a few months, and then it will be out of bounds. Yeah, it'll be out of bounds in Cancer at the very end of this. Okay, so it's the Mars retrograde. Okay, whatever. Yeah, got it. Fine, whatever. Like Mars retrograde. What are we gonna do during Mars retrograde? We're probably gonna look at the misdemeanors of our bad behavior, and we're going to look at how we've been using words to hurt, and we're going to be faced with all the ways that we've been breaking the law of God with our words and with our aggressive behavior, right? The lies that we tell, or the ways we harm someone, the ways we speak in spite, the ways we twist things, the ways we right, like there's a lot of, like, words are spells. We create with our mind. We create with our words. So Mars is the planet of self-assertion. It's the planet of will, how we get what we want. We get it with Mars. Mars goes out and gets it. It's the male energy. It's the warrior. So it rules violence. It rules, you know, the sword that we wield in our reality. And the sword with Mars and Gemini is the sword of words. You know, we are going to get what we want by using our words. We are going to explain ourselves. We are going to describe. We're going to question. But so when it goes retrograde for that period of time, and it's going retrograde on the 30th of October all the way to January 13th. Okay, so there is a period right at eclipse time. It goes retrograde right in the middle of the eclipses. And then it stays until kind of mid-January, and then it leaves the shadow on March, like mid-March. It leaves its shadow. So for this whole time, it's retrograde, and then, but for the entire time, it's also out of bounds. Do you understand? So this is a really difficult thing to get our heads around, because it's not like a normal retrograde. It's not. I think we'll have normal qualities to the retrograde. There will be things that come up in the collective, like gloves off, no holds barred fighting, pushing our will onto others, violence and aggression, hot dialogue, propaganda, rumors, misinformation, censorship, words that cut like a knife and hurt, a frenzy of conversations and arguments, right? Like this could be like some of the low road, justifying, arguing, lying, learn, like that could be some of the stuff that we have to see as a collective. We have to look at the misdemeanors. We need to slow down and see what we've been doing wrong. So will it arise in a violent and aggressive and assertive way that is harmful, war with words, so to speak? Maybe, but maybe that will be part of it, right? But there will be more than that. And I want to point us toward more, because I feel like Mars out of bounds can also be this incredible courage to move in a new direction and to go beyond where we've been before, particularly with regards to our ability to understand reality and each other, and to share information, to put words to things that we could never possibly hope of dreaming of explaining before. Right? To understand ourselves and our consciousness in ways that we have never thought possible, and to be able to add that to our pantheon and our self and our will, and to be able to want to explore, to want to go deeper, to want to share more information, and to learn and to explore and to create, you know, the connections with ourselves, connections with each other, that take us outside the realm of reality as we've known it, right? That take us out of the bounds and allow us to come to a sense of brother and sisterhood, right? Like together, comradeship, and that create like common language and common understanding that allow us to listen and hear each other and debate, comfortably about things. I don't necessarily see it as being like this horrible, horrible thing that is going to destroy us, right? I just feel like that there's this invitation into learning how to put into words the things that we've been experiencing at an unconscious level and that are really real, but we just haven't had the language structure to identify it or describe it, especially around the spiritual awakening process. Like, especially around permission to share information that helps us constellate this in a way that is conscious and verbal and real, that brings it into our language structure and into our conversation so that it's normalized, right? And we'll have the bravery to do that. We're going to be very brave in our communication for the next few months.
Well, it feels like to me too, like what you're saying, which gets my heart really excited, is also the ability to have the tougher conversations in a way that we'll be hearing one another, this big, you and I talked about this before, I think maybe on the 2022 forecast, I'm not sure, but this whole ability to bring two different sides to the table and realize that there's room for both, that there's space for both. They don't need to be one or the other. They can be both and, right? And being able to have conversations from that place versus just like this or that. And of course, all of this is like you're saying, it's an invitation, right? So some people will be taking that and be stepping into the more as you're sharing, while others,
Others
will
will be defending,
be in
right?
that
Others
battle
will
of
be
words that
hot-headed.
like,
Yeah. Others will be
um,
violent. Others will be aggressive. I mean, others will be sharp with their words, right? And very assertive. Like, I think we have to always watch with Mars. Mars rules impulse. So our impulse will be to what? Talk. Our impulse will be to say
well, and
what's
talking
on
can
our
get us into
mind.
so much trouble.
It really can, actually. Like, it really, like, what you can't take it back once you say it.
I'm in relationship, I'm in relationship with someone whose Mars is in Gemini. So I feel like I understand this archetype quite well in regards to his ability to use his words in such a way. He can totally melt a situation, or I give him a hard time and call him the antagonizer, because he just, with his words, man, it's the poke, it's the prod, it's the, it's an interesting energy. So
Yeah. Another thing that came up for me is that I feel like we're going to be really indecisive. Like Mars and Gemini, man, it doesn't really know what it wants, right? There are too many options. It's very confusing.
well, there's
It's
lots of air too that we're also stepping into, right? Towards the latter part of this year. So it's not just the Mars in Gemini, but it's also the other airiness, right? Am I thinking about that correctly, to where
well, I mean, we have Saturn in Aquarius, which is, Mars in Gemini through November. I think those are the only planets that are in air signs, although, yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to toward the end of this year. I mean, that
I guess kind of more so what because we're leaving a lot of the water, I feel like right now, the murkiness. But that could just be my own
yeah, no, that's it. I
Neptune.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't actually, I see, yeah, I see that there's a lot of like, there's not a lot of change actually from what we have been in. This is why I sort of tried to describe those themes, right? Because I don't really feel like much is changing. In fact, the same shit's going to heat way up because you've got Saturn coming back into square with Uranus.
And when does that happen?
I wrote it down. Hold on a second. Of course, I had to like get some dates. So
October?
Saturn Uranus squares, it really started coming back together again in August, actually. They
Right.
approached from 2 to 4 degrees in conjunction. And it earlier this month on September 11th, they came within 1 degree. And they will come to exact square on October 2nd through 12th, 13th. And then that's it for them. So we're
Okay.
kind of in the approach of the exact square, which is coming in a couple of weeks. But they will stay very, very close till the rest of the year. And then eventually by December 18th, they reach 5 degrees apart and then they separate, and that's it for this transit. So the words that are flying around are going to have a lot to do with the theme of that square, let me tell you. So let's talk about the theme of that square, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got like Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn came into Aquarius right as we were heading toward the 2020 December 21st alignment, right, in Aquarius, between Saturn in Aquarius and Jupiter in Aquarius. There was this conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius of Saturn and Jupiter on December, I think it was December 21st. It was on like the solstice of 2020. Okay. And this was a pivotal moment in the history of our human civilization, because Saturn and Jupiter conjoin. They hold hands every 20 years, but they do this in 200-year cycles. So every 20 years, for 200 years, for the last 200 years, Jupiter and Saturn have come together every 20 years in an Earth sign. So since the early 1800s, we've been in our culture is built through Saturn and Jupiter's holding hands. Why do I say our culture is built? Because Jupiter rules the truth or the vision that we're following. It's like our religion. It's our higher truth. And Saturn rules the structures and how we take that truth and then build it into reality. Okay. So Jupiter gives us the vision. Saturn gives us the form. They come together every 20 years and they are called the culture builders. And so for the last 200 years, we've had a culture based on resources, money, physical things, earth, using the resources that we can. Like, look at what we've gone through, the Industrial Revolution, right? Like, look at the resources, look at the wealth that we have on this planet that we've never had. And it's just been this like real earthy, grounded state, like production, right? Management. Let's build. And let's make it concrete and real. Materialism, capitalism rose up in this last cycle, right? We believe in like earthy values, right? But at December 21st, 2020, they came together in Aquarius and they set off 200 years of culture building that will be completely in air signs. The next 200 years, like we went through this culture shift. 2021 was the beginning of a culture shift into air in the archetype of Aquarius. And Saturn has stayed in Aquarius and will stay in Aquarius all the way sort of partially through 2023. I think that Saturn leaves Aquarius and moves into, hold on a second, and moves into Pisces in March of 2023. Okay, March the 8th. So we've been sort of in this place of like really trying to figure out the rules, Saturn, that should govern our new collective. Have you heard the term New World Order?
More like, than I would like
right,
to
more
say.
Than you probably want to admit.
Yeah.
But this is the truth, right? We're collectivizing. So whether you like it or not, it's going to happen, right? We have to figure out how to survive on this planet all together. And there are a lot of forces and a lot of players that want control, Saturn, of the collective, and that want to put the rules in place that will govern our future. We are setting, we're trying to figure it out. Like, I don't think, we don't know what we're doing. We haven't been there yet. That's why part of this is really uncomfortable for us, because we haven't actually had a civilization built on air yet, built on communication, technology, right? Like things are just immediate right now. Why do we even have borders, right? Like there's just like all like, what about the money system? Do we really need currencies? Like, oh my God, we're rethinking everything. We're rethinking travel. We're rethinking work. Where do we work? Like maybe we don't need to go to like maybe it doesn't matter if I live in Bali and I actually like, and do you know what I mean? Like it's just,
Oh yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But in that, I know that people are pretty angry about a lot of the things that the government is doing, and that there is a lot of like control that is coming from the top down. And I understand that. And this is not a conversation about politics. It's a conversation about archetype. So what we're trying to achieve as a collective are rules that will govern our collective. Okay. Simultaneously to that, we have Uranus and Taurus that came into a very tight square with Saturn in 2021. And so that has been the significant conflict that we've been experiencing for the last 2 years. Before that, we had COVID, but this was COVID as well, right? Like the rules to keep us all safe. And then the individual saying, no, you can't control me. I'm free to be myself. You're taking away my right to survive, Taurus. I want to be myself, says Uranus and Taurus. I have a right to be who I am, says Uranus and Taurus. You're hurting me, says Uranus and Taurus. You're taking away my survival, says Uranus and Taurus. And then Saturn in Aquarius says, we're doing this for your good. We're making choice. The collective matters more than the individual. You have to go along with all the rules because we know best and we're in charge, right? And like there's just like this, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure everybody knows what you're talking about.
now the narrative has changed. Now that COVID is gone, now it's the environment, right? We have to put all these rules in place and control and govern all our resources because climate change, and then and we have to survive, which is kind of true, sort of, but and meanwhile what is it doing? Like the most recent one is they're taking away farmland and they're removing, like they're just, anyway, I don't know a lot about it. I'm staying out of the politics. I'm just,
well, what it really feels like to
trying
me is
describe
that
the archetype.
we're being invited to see clearly. We're being invited to look at what is actually happening. It's like we're being taken into that movie theater of how things work, being sat in a chair, and then things are being shown up on a screen. And, I know the Akashic Records have talked a lot about like, you are learning how to see. This is what's happening right now. You're learning how to see what is actually happening in front of you, how things are actually working, what's really happening. What are our systems really doing? Are they really serving us? And then it feels like once we get past this wave, which for me, again, it just feels like we're being forced to see, and also forced to feel about it. Like we can't look away. We can't numb ourselves out. Like there's not enough TV, booze, drugs, like all of that. Like we have to, we have to be here in this. And then, so what is the next thing? The next thing is we eventually get to the place where we start making decisions about it, right?
Exactly. And that's when Uranus moves into Aries. And we're going to, that's in 2025, I think. We're just going to we've got a little bit more time. Like we're simmering in it. Like it's not, we're not taking that much action yet. I think you're bang on with that. Like, and part of what this Mars and Gemini is, we want to understand it. Like we're looking at different things, or we're conceived, like it's a mental energy, like Mars and Gemini. So we're building the bridge between the duality. We're understanding and conceptualizing, and we're applying our will toward understanding and conceptualizing, right? Like that we want to see. And that we want to call it out and name it, and we want to say something about it, and we want to ask questions, and we want to understand and organize it so that we can understand what's going on. Like it's not, I think it is going to be a part of this larger meta theme. And so a lot of debate might be happening in the next few months, and a lot of voices want to be heard, and a lot of information might come out that we can take a look at and look at objectively or look at defensively, whatever we choose.
Well, and I mean, like, as you're talking, it's just like Mars and Gemini retrograde, like questions. We're going to be
Question?
questioning. Do I want to work this much? Do I want to work this way? Do I want to, you know, live with a government like this? Do I want to, like, is this okay that the government is this way? Is this okay that my neighbor's allowed to do this? Is it a, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like Mars, like that period could also really help us to engage with what it is instead of like getting out of the feelings and the emotions that we've just kind of been sitting in, and actually like starting to be engaging with it and being like, okay.
Exactly. I think you just hit it right there. Exactly. And one of the things I wrote down was the mind catches up with the body.
Yeah, I love
The
that. That's
mind catches
perfect.
up with the body.
Yeah.
That we want, like, that the mind is able to cognate and understand what it is experiencing in the reality so that it can share this and assert this as a new story to be told.
Yeah, absolutely.
Understanding the old story and rewriting into something new, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Reviewing the old, seeing what has been broken, seeing the spells that we don't want to tell anymore, seeing the spells we don't want to cast, seeing the stories we don't want to tell, and then pulling in something new that is out of bounds that we don't even know yet, right? Going beyond, like going beyond what we've
Solutions.
known and finding things that we don't even know yet that we can bring to the table, right? So we
Yeah.
might not know where we want to go for a while, because retrograde can be really, it stops you, right? Like when you're cleaning your room, when I'm cleaning my room, I'm not running around. I'm stopping, you know, like the retrograde does stop us, and it forces us to take accountability for things. It's a catch-up time. But once the retrograde is done, you know, we're still out of bounds for a while, right? We're still out of bounds for a while, and I feel like I feel like, but at the other side, the indecision or the lack of, like, the, you know, lack of knowing is going to turn into a confidence. Like, and I was thinking, what I would really like to come out of this time with is, I would like to come out of this time having a new confidence in using my words to assert myself to others, to share myself more accurately with others, and to be able to accurately describe the reality that we are all experiencing with each other, right? To be able to put words to this and really have it come into the light or into the field of communication, so that we're all creating, like we're all listening, we're all on the same level, right? We're telling a tale together, we're creating life with our mind. Our mind creates reality.
Yeah.
Though you can't create what you can't conceive. You can't create what you don't see or what you don't think about, right? So this is a really beautiful time of going beyond what we ever knew, seeing things that might be difficult. I don't know, they might be difficult, but also they might be wonderful.
Well, I think we'll get both, right? Of course. I mean, this is not like, these are not mediocre times. These are not like fluffy, like, you know, times. And I think that at least what I've been experiencing my own personal world is like every time it is really tough, you know, it's that rainbow that shows up on the other side,
Yeah.
which super corny, I don't care. But, you know, it is like we're being strengthened through the difficult stuff. We're coming into better alignment with ourselves. Like you said, we're being able to
Yeah.
understand that truth more. We're being able to, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm, you know, and now what do I want to
Exactly.
do?
Because when you can speak it, it becomes real, right? You can share it.
Yeah.
It's no longer just something that's happening on the inside where it's private and hidden. It's now real. You're like, your mind is catching up to your body. Like, you can speak it.
So in these last couple of minutes here, as we're winding down, I know that this is going to be kind of tough, but could you maybe give us just like a little sort of synopsis of just like your feeling of how kind of this, you know, this last quarter of 22 is going to be? Um, any sort of like suggestions that you have or anything of that nature that might be helpful for folks as well. Make magic, Sarah. Make magic.
Oh my God. I don't know, Anna. I don't know what to say. I think that the most important thing is just to stay grounded and to stay calm and to listen and to try not to get too violent, like try not to get too impulsive. I think there will be a lot of debates raging. I mean, like as a summary, Mars is assertiveness and will. Gemini is information and communication. So Mars out of bounds can be like gloves off, no holds barred, like way out of range behavior, kind of insane, right? So the high road will be listening, learning, sharing information. The low road will be justifying, arguing, lying, right? So if you can kind of find a sense of stable ground within that. And I was really interested when I was looking at the coming eclipses, because the first one is on October 5th. It trines Mars and Gemini. The second one is on November 8th, and it's conjunct Mercury and opposite Uranus. So Mercury is opposite Uranus in the second. So it's going to loop in the theme of this like this impulse to bring our higher self into our form, to stand in our authenticity, and to be able to speak with personal authority from that place, right? Not to engage with our words in the suffering and the pain and the violence, but to engage with our words in right in something more productive, right? In the higher road. I think that we could have amazing dinner parties with incredible conversation and enlightened society. Or we could have like a lot of like cyber attacks and like weird, distorted, demented shit that goes on, and like people like bullying and saying mean things. Do you know what I mean? Like, so where do you want to play? And are you going to follow your impulse up, or are you going to follow it down? And I suppose that it all that's determined by your karma and by how your choices, right? And you might do a little of both. But if you kind of anchor into the Taurus, anchor into the body. I think that is like the critical ingredient, the critical objective of this year is know yourself, know your form, be in your body, take care of this vehicle, take care of yourself, do your work, come to stable ground, be peaceful if you can, make things smaller, right? Like the economic stuff, the wildness in the economy and all the financial stuff that's likely to come in the next couple of months. Well, how much do you need, right? Like, can we minimize? Like, can we come smaller? Can we budget, right? Ourself, our energy, and just be okay with what is for a little while, and kind of turn the volume down so that we can like come through unscathed. I don't know, man. There's so much flying around. There are so many hypotheses. I feel like we could drive ourselves crazy with it all. When I was tracking how it's going to feel, to be honest, it felt like confusion. It felt like discordancy. It felt like not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to like, just like sort of like this wild, angsty da. So again, like body, soma, earth, feminine, right? Anchor, slow down.
Yeah.
Take a pill,
Absolutely.
like chill pill. Don't take a real pill, but just take a moment of time and drink some tea.
Well, and freaking laugh. It's like laugh. Like freaking, if you
Totally.
want to zone out, numb out with TV, fine. Just do something that makes you laugh. Like watch something
Do
that's gonna
something that makes you laugh. Yeah.
lighten you up and make you feel fuzzy
And
versus
or grab some
heavier.
popcorn, get into the front row and watch the event, because like ultimately it's all going to be fine on every level that it's playing out on. It's okay. It's all part of it's all God. So what's the problem, right? Like you like watch it like excited as though you're at a movie because it's going to be dramatic and that'll be really fun. It's part of knowing what astrology is sort of the benefit of being able to track the reality and have like a framework to overlay on it so that you can tell yourself an interesting story while you're watching it. It's like you're the narrator of the story. You don't have to take it so personally then. And this is coming from a double Gemini, by the way.
Well, the records for the forecast for October, I mean, they literally, very implicitly point out like you chose to be here during this time. You wanted to be here. And for the beings who are around and watching this is a movie and they've got popcorn, and they're vying for us. And this is not like we don't need to take it so seriously, and that's, again, just to remind folks, like, I love knowing what's coming, even if it is more tough. I like going to those places so then I can empower myself to choose differently on the front end. And it doesn't mean that I'll fly through completely unscathed. I don't think that's realistic, but it will be there to support. So when things are feeling out of whack and I'm feeling whatever, or maybe I'm stepping in and I'm wanting to argue and bicker with everyone, that I can be like, oh,
okay, just
this is what Sara shared. I need to remember this right now.
Careful
This
of
is
my
just
impulses.
where it's going to be at. So I'll step away from this person or the computer or whatever, and
exactly.
take a walk outside or something like that,
Yeah.
So I so appreciate you coming and sharing so much of your wisdom with us, Sara. As always, it's such a pleasure to have you here. And this is, I know, going to be so helpful for folks. It's been great for me just listening in and tuning in and starting to set my own mind, about how I want to manage the last part of this year. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I think I'd just like to leave you with this. Like I was actually like scared of this year. I knew it was like, I did not want to come into this year. Like I really, really just was scared of it. And at the very beginning of the year, during that Jupiter Neptune conjunction, which was wild, I had this my guides came in and gave me, they don't often talk to me directly. Like do you know what I mean? Like literally putting words in my brain. That's not the most, they'll talk to me occasionally when it really counts. And they came right in one morning. I'm wide awake in bed. There's that liminal space of awakening when they often can come in and say something to me and I'll listen because I don't have my guard up. I'm not in my own, like my day consciousness. They came in and then this sentence landed. They said, choose above the line. And I've had to remind myself of that line so many times this year. If we fall below the line, this place is hell on earth. And it's painful. And this has been a painful, painful year. But if we can choose above the line, we affirm the truth. And we make we apply our will, Mars, to something higher. Okay. Gemini rules the Antakarana, which is the bridge between the lower and higher self. We build that bridge with our mind through our conscious choices of where we want to focus our attention. So let Mars in Gemini enable you to focus your mind and your attention above the line on creating a conscious bridge that allows your higher self to be present here in your form so that you can with confidence speak from that place and trust that it is real. So that is my
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Miss Sarah.
All
Thank
right,
you
Miss
once again
Anna.
for being here. I just want
Mhm.
to say thank you for everyone who is here listening. Again, my intention is that this serves you, this helps you. Please take this information. Please make some decisions for yourself ahead of time. Take notes, revisit this throughout the last part of 2022 when you find yourself feeling lost so that you can come back to center. And again, thank you so much for being here. If you were inspired by today's discussion, please be sure to leave us a review on Spotify or iTunes. Share this with someone who could use it, friend, family. Be sure to sign up for the email list for podcast updates and helpful resources. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week. Yay! This was so good, Sarah. I have a whole page of notes.
Oh, good.
This was good. This was so good. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think at least if all goes well with my move, then this will be coming out on the 5th of October.
Great.
So
Well, yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
think it'll be really good timing.
Like let me know like if you want to do more stuff, and I'm always up for a conversation with you. Seriously. Like when you get back in your rhythm or whatever, and you
Yeah,
ground
yeah.
out. So
I've been getting some this past, I don't know, I would say 4 or 5 days have been really helpful in regards to just finally getting some real clarity about how I need to move forward and the ways in which I need to move forward. And
yeah.
but yeah, I will definitely, I think for me, it's a little difficult to see until after
Mm-hmm.
I move, but I'll definitely be in touch for sure. So I really appreciate it. And I'll send you all the stuff per usual once it
Hey.
goes live. But yeah, thank you so much. I think this was just awesome. So
Yay. It's so much fun to talk to someone who actually knows what the hell they're talking about too. I'm so happy to talk to you. It's like, oh my God. Yes.
well, you're
And
so
I love
poetic with
how
your
what
words. I'm
you get
like,
from the Akash is like so like it's like so accurate. Like you're getting exactly what I'm feeling. We're just coming at the exact same thing from different places. And so it's so lovely to make that connection. It always feels so authentic. So
yeah,
it's always awesome. I love our time together. So thank you.
thank
And
you.
yeah, go out and use your words for magic, okay? Over the next few months and
I get
find
it. I mean, I'm
new
excited,
fearless
honestly.
ways to describe your crazy reality, please, because we all need to hear it, we all need to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I mean, honestly, my personal, like, I loved what your intention was for where you want to be at the other end of that. Cause that's exactly it for me. I feel like learning how to speak is such a important part of my life puzzle and something I'm stepping more and more into that, but I am 100% with you on that intention. So I'm going to be holding strong to that one. But
Awesome.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
will be in
Send me
touch.
the recording and I'll send it out to my newsletter community. And so whenever you get it, let me know, okay? So I can send it out to them. That would be really cool.
Will do.
That will
Thank you
probably
so
bring.
much, lady.
Okay. Mwah.
Mwah. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.